Welcome back to Stay in Your Lane with Triple T Transport. Today we brought Joe Lombardo. Last week we had a discussion about stakeholders and some other information. This week we want to talk about the on-time delivery. He made a statement, Joe did last week on our podcast, said on-time deliveries, it's like beauty. It's in the eye of the beholder. So, that intrigued me. So I definitely want to pick his brain and understand where he's at with it and share where we are. Joe, welcome.
Thank you, John. Thanks for great to be back.
How you doing today?
Good, good.
Good, good. So the reason why I brought this subject up and want to talk about it is it seems like when the market is softer, service is taken for granted per se. When the market and capacity are tighter, then I think the perception is we got to get everything we're paying for and make sure you're on time.
Yeah,
From a shipper's perspective or from our perspective, depending on what seat you're sitting in, I'm trying to look at every one of these discussions as holistic and look at it from every perspective. So,
sure,
so when you say it's beauty's in the eye of the beholder, can you explain that?
sure. Again, I'll give you an example. I've been in a number of meetings where we have a meeting with a customer, a critical customer, and we'll sit down and I'll have my reports, and the customer will come out with his reports, and I'm looking at my reports, and they say, you're 96% on time delivery, and I said, I'm feeling good going in there. I had a meeting with the sales guys prior, and we were all pumped up, and then the customer comes in and says, well, you guys suck. You're at 89%. It's like, okay, well, then you got to start looking so basically when I say, look, it's in the eye of the beholder. What are you measuring? How do you measure it? Your on time does not match my on time. You got to be on the same sheet of music. So again, my opinion, who's ever in the best position to measure it should measure it. What sense is it? It's I measure it, the carrier measures it, the broker measures it, and the receiver measures it. I mean, in a perfect world, everybody would have the same data flow through, and everybody would know that you're on time. But again, maybe it's gotten better in the last few years with with the digitalization of a lot of the information. But I mean, I sat in many meetings where it came down to the data, and that's why I said it's how you look at the data.
Well, I think you hit it on the head there. From some perspectives, uh, we've had those discussions where you sit down and you get an email and you say, "This is your report card. This is your scorecard," whether it be the shipper or the receiver or whoever that's managing your on time metrics. And normally there's more, just as everything else in transportation. I equate it to looking at a bid and a lane on a bid, and then actually picking up the load and going to the origin, and then the receiver and making the deliveries, and then afterwards, it doesn't look anything like what it looked like on a spreadsheet, right?
Yeah,
There's always the gap or gray area that you're alluding to, and everybody looks at it from their own perspective. But I've talked to carriers that say, if we're making the delivery on that calendar day, it's considered on time.
yeah,
And then you have a customer saying, our trucks leave in the morning to go out and make our deliveries at 7 a.m. The truck needs to be here at 3 a.m. so we can offload, break anything down that we need, and put it on our outbound trucks to make delivery.
right.
So everyone's perspective is a little different. And, so it somewhat depends on which seat you're sitting in.
Yeah,
We've had meetings where we were presented that our on-time delivery was terrible to our customers from the receiver, and then when we ask for the data and then we comb the data and find out that the problems were internally because we did business with both parties. We did business with the shipper and the receiver, and the receiver actually wasn't updating their information on dates when product didn't load when it was supposed to load, and they don't update the system, their own personal system, and it came back that we were at the 98.6, 98.9 on the customer that they were presenting to.
Yeah.
That so everyone has a different perspective here, but can we get something consistent across the industry? Uh, on time is on time. It's an
Yeah.
appointment time. It's to the minute,
Exactly.
right?
Exactly.
You're either 15 minutes like the military. If you're 15 minutes early, you're on time. You're not
Yeah.
15 minutes early. You're on time. But there again, what happens when I have a truck sitting outside the guard shack waiting to check into a facility and they're backed up and he sits out there for 45 minutes waiting to get checked in and now he's late?
Yeah. No,
Is there profit in it?
yeah. Well, again, it's a thing. It's what we talked about earlier in some of the earlier podcasts. It's about efficiencies. It's about the quality of the data, uh, and again, how you measure it. I mean, I'll give you another example. We would, when I was with Nestle, we had different Nestle companies in North America, and we would get together, on a regular basis and talk about the business and what can we do better, and how can we synergize. And I love that word, synergy. And again, we'd sit down, and so one company, Nestle Company A, would say, well, we're at 98% on time delivery every day, and quarter in, year end, no problem. And I'm sitting there at 91% or something. I'm like, okay, well, as we peeled back the onion, they were only measuring to the last appointment day. So if that appointment could have changed 7 times because he had late trucks, he counted that on time because the last delivery was on time. But the other 7, because they missed appointments or they changed appointments. So it's like you adjust. I said, you keep on adjusting. How is that? You're not giving me reality. So that's the kind of stuff you got to peel the onion back and see what people are really looking at. Adjusted, unadjusted.
Well, which brings up, the next point, the late fee situation.
Mm-hmm.
How are shippers and how are we in a position with our shippers where they can put multiple stops on a truck to multiple food service locations? You get held up at one, you're late at number 2, and there's a $250 fine.
Yeah, well, that's that. I guess that's why you see. Again, I don't know if this still goes on, but you see carriers turning down those stop trucks. I mean, you got to really find a niche guy that will do those stop trucks for you, especially if you're putting 10 or 12 stops on the truck.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
we used to have problems just getting 2 stops off sometimes. No, never mind 4 or 3 or whatever. So that's I think that's a whole different ballgame. We talk about stop trucks.
Well, I mean, it's reality. So
Yeah.
for us, it's to the first stop. The way we're gonna do it is to the first stop,
Okay.
and then from then to the next stop. And as long as the receivers and we're on time, and we don't get held up, we can keep going on the stops. But the moment we
Right.
get held up, you
Yeah.
can't.
All bets are off. Yeah.
Right. And then how do you hold that? How do you hold that against me from a score perspective?
Yeah.
I mean, I can only be as good as I'm set up to be. Correct.
Yeah.
If you set Triple T up for success, you're going to have nothing but success, and we want to take accountability of that. But at the end of the day, if I'm at your facility too long, or one of my trucks is at your facility too long to allow them to make it to on-time delivery, yes, I'm going to be late for the appointment that was scheduled. But
Yeah.
that's not our fault. That's your fault if I'm there in time to be,
Yeah.
to be managed and loaded, and as long as there aren't production problems or people issues. But always comes down to people, Joe.
Yeah. Well, that's why you need to have good data. I mean, it needs to be good, consistent data that people can rely on and believe in. Um, I think that it gets down to that.
Oh, it is, and we go back and actually provide our shippers if they come to us with charges for not being on time or late charges. We go in and pull the data and share it with them so that
Sure.
they can fight this. But at the end of the day, this is a tremendous waste of people and managed time.
Absolutely.
There's no profit in this other than stopping a bogus late fee. There's no profit in it for anyone.
No, there's whole teams of people probably on the shipper and the carrier and the receiver just going back and forth with this data, trying to get these fees approved, or on the shipper side trying to knock them out, and it's just so much wasted effort.
Well, why don't we go to why don't the shippers go to we provide a solution. Why don't we say, hey, the 4 hour delivery window, if you aren't ordering a full truckload, that's not going to cut it.
Yeah.
It's not going to cut it. If I have to commingle your stuff with other stops out in your region, there is no late. There is no way you're going to you're going to consider anything we do late,
Yeah.
right? I mean, there goes a late fee. There goes the time wasted to fight and discuss and argue over late fees.
Research it.
Research it and prepare it and to pull data and the time wasted. Again, you're not selling the product for any more money, and neither's the receiver.
Right.
So this is just basically a time waster. If the product delivers on the day it's supposed to deliver, that's it. If you're ordering truckloads, I can understand maybe holding people to a higher standard. But when you're ordering less than truckloads,
Yeah.
there should be no late. There should be no late fee. There should be no if you can't order it in larger quantities or half truckload or more. That way, everyone has a chance to be successful.
Yeah. No, I don't disagree. I don't disagree at all. Yeah, LTL, stop trucks. You're in a different arena when you're talking on time delivery.
Well, yeah, I think you have to accept that. And then
Yeah.
if you're grading your carriers and you're giving them, if you're giving carrier A the stop trucks and the LTL freight and the stop trucks, and you're giving carrier B the one pick one drops,
Yeah.
you shouldn't be able to see the same thing. It shouldn't be the
Yeah.
same requirement.
Right.
Have to make the adjustments accordingly.
Yeah. Totally agree.
Totally agree. Well, Joe, again, thank you always for your wisdom.
John, it's running late. I need to leave.
All right. Well, you go back to what you were entered into before I jumped on the call with you. Next week's call is going to be when do you make changes in a routing guide from a shipper's perspective?
Okay.
So I think we're going to call this one either the people change or the people change.
Okay.
Okay.
I'll have to think about that.
Think about that one. I'll give you a call next week.
All right, John. Have a good week.
Thanks, Joe.
Take care.
Bye-bye.